If you kite in cold wind without protecting your ears, there's a good chance you'll need the surgery I just got. You might already have damage and not even know it. Surfer's ear is this condition where the bones in your ear canal slowly grow inward from repeated exposure to cold wind and cold water. Over time, your ear canal gets so narrow that water gets trapped inside, leading to infections and potentially even hearing loss if left untreated. So how do you know if you have it? Well, often your family doctor will look into your ears and say something like, "I see from your ears that you've been getting huge barrels and throwing sick mega loops. Good on you, can't?" I'm going to answer all of your questions about surfer's ear, prevention, symptoms, surgery, recovery, and everything in between. I'm also going to tell you why I think you should avoid the drill method and instead get the safer chisel method like the one I just got, and share my experience of going through the surgery. What are the symptoms? Well, honestly, you won't know that you have it unless a doctor or someone looks in your ears. But I guess the most common symptoms are frequent ear infections. So it happens when you're regularly in very cold water. In my case, I spent many years in my teens and 20s kiting and surfing, mainly surfing honestly, in super cold water. In South Africa, I'll regularly be wearing a 4.3 or a 5.4 millimeter wetsuit, and the spots that I love to surf require a 5.4. So anyway, this constant cold water exposure causes this response, and some people are genetically more predisposed to it. Some surfers go their whole life surfing in super cold water and never have an issue, and I started to get symptoms of surfer's ear probably like 7 years into my surfing career, so it really can hit you pretty quick. So be sure to prevent it. How can you prevent surfer's ear? Well, you can wear surf ears or other earplugs. If you're in cold water, you probably can justify using a neoprene hood. So wear it not just to keep your head warm, but also to keep your ears safe. Honestly, prevention is better than the cure, guys.
So who would you say is more at risk of getting surfer's ear? People who are like in the water, or people who are like, perhaps in the wind with wind chill?
Probably in the wind, hey?
So what's the treatment for surfer's ear? Well, there's two methods. You get the drill method, which is old school, and you get the chisel method.
The risks of long-term tinnitus, long-term noise-induced deafness using the drill method, those risks are substantial. The noise element, the risk of noise-induced deafness, that's the main reason why we surgeons chisel. The fact that we can do it without making cuts, and our patients have minimal pain, and it's not a really nasty experience. Those are all bonuses.
Tinnitus is one of my biggest fears, which is why I opted to do the chisel method. So yeah, with the chisel method, the doctor goes with the chisel, kind of just like he's a carpenter, and goes tick, 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 and chisels away at the exostoses. What's the recovery like from the surgery? Well, I just had the surgery today, and honestly, I'm feeling great. There's minimal pain, but I can't even hear my own voice very clearly because my ears are currently stuffed full with cotton and stuff. So I can get back into the water 2 weeks from now, provided I use press stick or sticky putty, that kind of stuff. I'll need to use earplugs like that for the next 6 to 8 weeks, after which I don't think I need to use earplugs, but I'm going to continue to use my surf ears because I just don't want this problem to come back.
How long does it take for surfer's ear to come back if I don't use the necessary precautions?
So anything from 5 to 10 years.
Hectic, eh? And would you say surf ears are a good solution?
Yeah, the diaphragm in them means you're not totally closed off or blocked off.
Now look, I've been using surf ears for years, but while I was making this video, it hit me. This whole thing is basically an unpaid ad for ear protection. So I figured, why not make it official? Hey Surf Ears team, I just finished making a video where part of my skull got chiseled out because I didn't wear your product early enough. It's basically a very graphic 10-minute video for why people should wear surf ears. I already use them and I love them. Let's make magic happen. Mike. So now this video is officially sponsored by Surf Ears. So get Surf Ears today and your ears probably won't close up. I'm pretty confident about that.
My ears were blocked for 4 days, which was pretty uncomfortable. The doctor sucked out the gunk 3 times after the op. He even met me on the weekend to do it, which I really appreciated. Now, 4 days post-op, I can hear clearly again. Oh, and what happens when you have surfer's ear? Well, water gets into the ear canal and it doesn't come out. It's so fucking annoying. So over the last few years, I've been wearing earplugs. I've been wearing my surf ears, and they're great because they keep the water out and I can still hear pretty well. But if I forgot my earplugs or they fell out in a crash or something and water got in, that water would be stuck in there for at least a day. It was super annoying, and sometimes it would even result in an infection. Now recently I was in Egypt learning to free dive, and when you free dive, you dive to great depths, there's quite a bit of pressure and the water just gets pushed into the ears past the earplugs, and I wasn't able to free dive nearly as much as I wanted to because of surface ear. So finally I said, fuck it, I'm gonna get this operation, yo. So what's bad about surface ear? Well, like I said, it reached a point where it was impacting my sports, which sucks, but it can get worse. Eventually your ear can grow totally closed, and then it will impact your hearing. You can develop tinnitus, which is this constant ringing in your ears, which is probably one of my biggest fears. And I think at some point, this is the real shitty thing. At some point, when the ear's totally closed and you get a gnarly infection, instead of the infection draining out from your ear, it pushes back into your ear and through your eardrum. So that can perforate your eardrum, which can impact your hearing. Really don't want to let it get that bad. And once it reaches that point, it's also way harder for the doctors to operate, because in my case, for example, with the chisel method, the guy's chiseling away at the exostoses and he can't necessarily see the eardrum, which means he can't necessarily easily avoid it. I love my eardrums, bro. Comment below if you love your eardrums. Did I have tinnitus before the surgery and did it go away? No, I didn't have tinnitus. But does tinnitus go away afterwards? I believe yes, it can go away afterwards, according to a search on perplexity.ai. So guys, what are the risks about the operation? Look, when I got closer to the operation, I started chatting to the doctor. The risks were greater than I expected, and what I mean by that is there were more risks than I expected, but the likelihood of these risks, of these injuries happening, are extremely low. Like the risk of infection is low, the risk of a perforated eardrum is low, the likelihood of a small perforation in the eardrum I believe is like 10%, and those small perforations are likely to close up. There aren't many surgeons in the world experienced with the chisel method, only a handful, and there are just 3 I believe here in South Africa. I drove 6 hours to Knysna to get operated on by Dr. Martin Young, who's performed over 400 of these surgeries. He's got an excellent reputation, and based on my experience so far, I would highly recommend him. If you're considering the surgery, I think it's worth coming to South Africa, enjoying a little holiday, and getting the operation done by Dr. Young. I've put his details in the description. Well, for the next 2 weeks, I gotta take it pretty easy. I can't get in the water, which I don't plan on doing anyway, and I can't even go to the gym, which is quite a bummer because for the past few months, I've been gymming like 5 or 6 days a week, which is amazing, and quite a bummer because your boy been making gains. Check out the shameless flexing.
She's just a girl and she's on fire.
I used to be a very skinny boy, and now I've packed on a lot of muscle over the years. Not that I'm jacked or anything, but definitely a lot bigger than the scrawny cunt I once was. In any case, in like a week and a bit from now, I'm going to Turkey for another operation. You can guess what operation I'm getting in the comments below. So that's going to be cool, but again, I won't be able to gym for a while, which again is quite a bit of a bummer, but that's the price we pay. All right, guys, well, I hope you found this helpful. If you've enjoyed this video, please be sure to subscribe to my channel. If you've got any questions, drop them in the comments. And otherwise, I made another video for you. You can watch that one over here, and you can subscribe over here.